mid-2021, Xiaomi released the Redmi Note 10 Pro China variant, or as we call it, the Redmi Note 10 Pro 5G. But 4.5 months later, Xiaomi released the Redmi Note 11 series for the Chinese market. They released the Redmi Note 11 with the Dimensity 810. But the one we have here in this review is the Redmi Note 11 Pro, which runs the latest MediaTek Dimensity 920, and yes, it's the first phone to have this new chipset. The Redmi Note 11 Pro can be chosen in 3 storage variants, starting from the basic 6128GB storage, 8128GB, and finally the 8256GB storage. And it runs on UFS 2.2 storage paired with LPDDR4X RAM. Pricing on the 6128GB is at 1,799 Chinese yen, or about $280. It also comes in 4 colors, from the mysterious black to the forest green, timeless purple, and finally Milky Way blue, which is the one that I have here. Starting off with the review are the accessories that comes inside the box. We have here the normal clear jelly case, SIM ejector pin, manuals and safety guide, 67 watts charging brick, and finally the Type-C cable. Now onto software. We are currently running MIUI 12.5.3 out of the box, which runs on Android 11. Some people are speculating that China ROM phones on Xiaomi don't have Google services pre-installed or Google won't work, but they're wrong. This issue has been resolved by Xiaomi for almost 5 months already. Guys, come on, let's move on from the dark. The display here is a 6.67-inch 1080p AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate, 360Hz touch sampling rate, DCI-P3, and HDR10 with peak brightness is at 1300 nits brightness. This display also have the TUV Rainland Eye Comfort certification, and it is protected with Gorilla Glass 5. Now let's talk about its build quality, starting off with the side frame. Some news articles say that it is made out of aluminum, but I think it is made out of plastic, since no antenna bands are visible on the exterior of the smartphone. On the right side, we have here the volume rocker and the power button, which doubles as the fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner here is pretty fast and accurate. Here on the top of the phone is the top firing speaker, noise cancelling microphone, IR blaster, and finally the headphone jack. Yes, I'm glad that Xiaomi didn't remove the headphone jack yet on the Redmi Note 11 Pro. Here on the bottom, we have here the dual SIM card slot SIM tray with one hybrid slot on the back, which can support microSD card. Also here on the bottom is its secondary microphone, USB Type-C port, and the downfiring speaker. Here on the back, we have here a unique blue and pinkish violet gradient color with glitters on the bottom half of the smartphone, like we saw on the Redmi Note 10 Pro 5G a few months back. It is finally made out of glass, but no Gorilla Glass protection. It is a glossy back and fingerprints can be visible here on the side of the camera module. But in green, black, and violet color, it has a matte finish there, which makes the back more smooth and not a fingerprint city. The overall build and feel of the smartphone feels more better when using the phone one-handedly, especially the iPhone-like design of the frame and the flat back, which makes the phone more grippable than a normal curved back smartphone. It also has IP53 rating for splash and dust protection. For the battery, we have here a 5160 mAh battery, which can run you a full day of use with some heavy gaming, media streaming, and some photography and videography sessions. And when fueling up the empty tank, we can charge up to 67 watts, and as advertised by Xiaomi, we can charge up this massive 5160 mAh battery in just 43 minutes. This phone is powered by the newest and latest mid-range chipset from MediaTek, which is the Dimensity 920. It's a 6nm chip with 5G connectivity, and I was shocked when I still got 5G signal even while inside the elevator. But take note that signal strength will depend on your carrier and location. Its performance is slightly behind the Snapdragon 860 that we seen on the Poco X3 Pro. its Antutu 9.2 score is between 420,000 to 450,000. GeekBench 5, we scored 748 on single core and finally 2,284 on multi-core. Now, let's see its performance and optimization on some big and famous titles. Starting off with Mobile Legends. Here, we have only up to high graphics, and yes, gladly, we have HFR mode here. We don't have ultra graphics here as of now because this chipset is new, and surely in the future updates of the game, we will have ultra settings available. When playing, it's 100% smooth and no frame drop or lag, and the phone doesn't heat up that much. Moving to COD Mobile, we can set the graphics up to medium graphics and very high frame rate. But when you dial down the graphics to low, you can tick the max frame rate option. When playing, there is just a slight heating and the game runs smooth. But graphics here isn't that good yet since the chipset is yet to be optimized by developers. Here on PUBG, we can set graphics to HD and high frame rate. Even if we set our graphics to the lowest possible setting, its frame rate is still capped at high only. Guys, once again, if the graphics of the game isn't available, doesn't mean that your phone is slow or lack in power. But the reason is, in some cases like this one, the chipset that the phone comes with is yet to be optimized by the game developers. And surely in the near future, this chipset will be more optimized on games. Moving on PUBG, here on Genshin Impact, we set all settings to its max. We will be experiencing lags and stutters, even when panning around. But it's still playable, but when you dial down all settings to medium graphics, the game will run smoothly, and yes, while playing the game for a bit, the phone will get a bit hot, but not to the point where the phone will throttle. Now, let's talk about its camera. Starting off with the back camera, we have here a 108 megapixel Samsung HM2 with an f1.89 aperture. 8MP Sony IMX355 for the ultra-wide camera with f2.2 aperture. And finally, a 2 megapixel telemacro lens with an aperture of f2.4. With the main, using the normal mode, images are binned down to 12 megapixels. Shots here are really great and dynamic range is surprisingly decent. Images on broad daylight is good, and when doing 2x zoom, the image is still usable and the quality of the image is still pretty good. On 4x zoom, the image looks more low in detail and the images is slightly unusable. On 8x zoom and 10x zoom, images here is mediocre and unusable. Ultra-wide shots here are decent and it's pretty good except that it is slightly overexposed on some parts of the image. 108 megapixel mode here is surprisingly one of the best I tried on a smartphone at this price range. The grills on this building right here is still clear and visible, even if it's far away. When on more darker and challenging situations, the dark mode here is useful on making the image more brighter and gives the image a bit more detail. Here, on the image of my cat, as we can see, the night mode brightens up the dark subject, but the detail of the image isn't that much better compared to the normal mode. Here, on the hallway, without using the night mode, the image is a bit saturated, which makes the image look a bit more yellowish than real life. Using dark mode outside makes the image a bit more brighter and it gets a bit more detail. Here we have a ultra-wide shot on the dark with AI off on the left and AI on the right. On the right side with the AI turned on, the image looks more saturated than the AI off. 1x here with AI off on the left and AI on the right. You can see that the right image is more saturated than the left. On 2x zoom, we can see that the image is still decent and slightly usable. But when zooming in a bit, you can see that the image is grainy. On 4x zoom, the image is unusable for me and the image is clearly grainy. Same goes to 6x zoom, 8x, and finally 10x zoom. Macro shots here is just normal and nothing special since it's only a 2 megapixel camera. Now let's go to video recording, starting off with the 1080p 30fps. The stabilization here is pretty good, but one thing I don't like is that when the video is even just slightly shaky, the video will lose a bit of quality. Microphone here, by the way, is pretty good. On 1080p 60fps, as you can see, we don't have EIS here, which makes the video shaky. But the quality of the video is better than the 1080p 30fps. Here on the 4K video, it has a bit of EIS, but it's not that much noticeable. But the quality of the video is really nice. For the ultra-wide, the video is capped at 1080p 30fps, and my comment here is the same as the 1080p 30fps video on the normal mode. When recording on the dark, the ultra-wide camera makes the whole scene really dark. When using the normal mode, the scene is a bit more brighter than the ultra-wide video. Even using flash here doesn't make the video better, to be honest. One thing I don't like capturing night shots when on photo mode is that it makes it hard to focus, especially the laggy feel on the camera UI on the dark. But for some reason, when moving it to video mode, the laggy feel is not present here. Here on the selfie camera, we have a 16 megapixel OmniVision OV12A10 camera. Here we can record up to 1080p 30fps with EIS, and here is a sample image taken on the front camera indoors. Moving on from the camera, let's talk about its speaker setup. Here we have a stereo speaker setup, one on the top and one on the bottom of this phone. And both is tuned by JBL and it has Dolby Atmos 2. Let's now test its speakers. Settings here on the Dolby Sounds is set at music, and here on the video toolbox, Dolby Atmos is turned on too, and the enhanced dialogue is stick to the max settings. Personally, for me, I love the sounds that comes out of this speaker, but I let you guys to be in judge of that. Now let's talk about the advantages of this smartphone. Advantages here is that first of all, it's a China ROM phone. Yeah, it may sound weird and it's a unpopular opinion, but I like the fact that the China ROM of MIUI is more smoother, captures stronger signal based on my own experience. Almost all bloatwares can be deleted. UI is more lighter. Updates here on China ROM is much more bug-free and more up-to-date. Haptics here is also a plus because it feels really nice and really premium. Also here we have a headphone jack present on this device. And finally, the premium build and the really nice new iPhone-like design of the body, which makes one-hand use more easy and more comfortable. Now on to the disadvantages. One thing I don't like is the weight, which is at 207 grams. But it makes sense since the battery of the phone is 5,160 mAh. Another thing is that the chipset it comes with is not that powerful when it comes to heavy gaming. But when you're just going to play games like COD M, PUBG, Mobile Legends, yes, this phone performs great. Now to my final verdict. With the phone package having a jelly case, and a pre-installed screen protector, charging cable, and the charging brick. I like that the Xiaomi didn't remove those on the package. Build quality here is really great, especially with the back being made out of glass, and the design is very unique and eye-catching. Camera here is beyond my expectations and it's a big plus. Performance-wise, could be better, but if you're a slightly heavy gamer or maybe just a casual user, well, this phone surely won't disappoint you. Do I recommend you to get this? Yes, yes, and yes. This phone deserves the recommendation, and despite of the disadvantages that the phone has, it still doesn't make me think twice on getting one of these as my main smartphone. Thank you guys for sticking up to the end of the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Ternyata aku salah.